The following is an encore presentation of stories from the Dooralong Transformation Centre. And we're joined in the studio by Armando. That's right, isn't it, Armando?
Yes, Armando, that's right.
I'm going to have to ask to start with Armando. That's not an Australian name, is it?
No, it's I'm Italian, but the name is Spanish.
Oh, is it Spanish?
It's a Spanish name.
So, very European.
Yes, very European.
Very European. But you were born in Australia?
No, fully imported. I was born in Milan, Italy.
Yeah?
I kissed Aussie dirt in 1970.
Okay. Yeah.
And the family, we became citizens in 1974.
Yeah.
And I've been loving this big brown land ever since.
Excellent. And just before we came on air, Armando, being Italian of course, was telling me the only way to drink coffee really is a single espresso. Is that right?
Oh, double espresso.
Double espresso, yeah. So he's got his coffee. I've got my English breakfast tea. So I think between us we've got the tea and the coffee market sewn up, I reckon.
Got it covered.
Yeah. Now, Armando, of course, is from Dooralong Transformation Centre. That's right. You've been there. How long is it, Armando?
Almost 5 months.
Yeah.
Now.
Things going well for you?
Fabulously.
Good.
Now.
I mean, you look really great. I mean, you know, I know you've got sort of issues, and we will talk about them, but
sure. You
wouldn't know to look at you.
Well, it's the name says it all. Dooralong Transformation Centre. It's if you've got the will, they've got all the tools for you.
That's a good way of putting it, isn't it?
Yes.
You bring them your will and they give you the tools.
Well, actually, the tools are within every participant there. We just aren't aware of how to use them. And
we've buried them.
Well, exactly, yeah. We've buried them with years of abuse. But
you talked there about years of abuse. I'm right on time, Armando. It's alcohol abuse as far as yourself is concerned.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
When did that get? Or when did it start for you?
Well, I had my first drink at the age of 14, and I drank until I blacked out. Had no memory of it. Didn't really enjoy it. And it was a few years after that I started to get into it. I was at the age of 17.
But you say you. Because I'm guessing, I think a lot of people, a lot of young guys would have probably taken their first drink around about 14 at sort of Christmas or sort of parties at home, and Dad would have given them a glass of beer. But you say you blacked out even with that first experience. I did drink to excess. So it wasn't a controlled introduction.
Oh, absolutely. No. There was a bottle there was 3 of us, and we polished it off.
This is with your mates?
Yes, with school friends.
Yeah. And you drank to oblivion?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Was that just an experiment, or were you trying to?
No, that was just an experiment.
Yeah.
Gone wrong.
Yeah.
Anyone drinking at that young age into that excess is wrong.
It might have turned a lot of people off drink for the rest of their lives, but that didn't happen to you.
Well, it turned me off for a few years.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't start drinking again till I was 17.
Okay. And what was growing up like for you?
Well, it was I grew up in a reasonably large family. I've got 3 older sisters. Well, really, that makes 4 mothers.
Big Italian family.
Big Italian family. Lots of food.
Yeah.
Always, and I suppose I was getting a little sip of wine, of Dad's wine.
Yeah.
At the table,
which is a European way, isn't
European way, yes. A little bit of wine with some water or some lemonade. And I didn't actually realise that my father, he was drinking way too much.
Was he?
Yeah, he was an alcoholic, as was his father before him. And
how did that manifest itself in the family?
Well, there was lots of arguments. Lots of arguments, mostly about Mum being upset with Dad drinking. He wasn't a violent drunk. He was more of a clown, always there, ready to entertain, and and put a smile on our face. But in the same, it probably that was damaging. Really,
there was a darker side to it.
Yeah.
A happy childhood, would you say?
Yeah, they had happy moments.
Sounds as if there was unhappy moments as well.
Yeah, there was. I was about, I think 4.
Yeah.
And my parents got divorced.
Okay.
So Mum was probably not coping all that well. I mean, she was struggling with her mental illness as well, which, as a young child, I didn't understand. I just thought Mum was being very mean, and as a young child does, get into a bit of strife here, there. But my mother, she was a bit too willing with physical discipline.
Yeah. All right. So, not to put too fine a point on it, did she hit you a lot?
Yeah, she was
hard.
The wooden spoon was always on the weekly shopping list because they would get broken on backsides and legs. But once again, I said, it's that was his mum trying to cope the best she could. As traumatic as I think those experiences were, I still have lots of love and respect for her.
Of course. So a childhood with happy moments, but also sort of darker, sadder moments as well.
Yes.
So here you are now. You're this 17-year-old boy. You 3 years early, you'd had your first taste of alcohol, but you think 17, I might give this a go again.
Yes. Well, I started off as a few drinks, and a few drinks led to more drinks, and then I realised that I was feeling a lot better. Well, I thought I was. Problems and worries seemed to wash away with every sip. I didn't realise that was the cornerstone of my demise, really.
So it wasn't social drinking where you're drinking to have a good time and to lose a few inhibitions. You say, you said you were drinking because it helped you to forget some of the things that were happening.
Well, I have to say, at first it was social, but then I just realised there was this other part that did help me forget. And it got to the stage by my 21st birthday, I was drinking to excess 3 or 4 times a week. Easily. And you were saying before we came on air as well, and I cleared with you that we could mention this, but there were also other things that were happening in your life as a child that you were trying to forget, things that happened at school. Yes. Sadly, I saw the darker side of the Catholic Church. I'm not condemning the whole church, but there was
I understand.
2 individuals that I was abused at boarding school.
So you had this difficult sort of childhood with your mum and her mental illness. You've been to a school where you've been abused by some of the teachers there. So there was a lot of dark moments in your life, and the drink was helping you forget. Is that fair?
Yes, exactly right.
And how long did this go on for?
Well, up until I kept on drinking up until 5 months ago. So the good 30 years.
Did nobody in the last 30 years say, "Hey, Amanda, I think you've got a bit of a problem here, mate"?
Well, yes, family and good friends did try to point this out, but of course I was in denial. I thought they needed to have a drink.
I've got it under control.
Absolutely. Well,
I could stop tomorrow if I wanted.
Yeah, exactly, but I don't want to, so I kept on doing it.
Yeah. And what sort of toll is it taking?
Well, it took a lot. It cost me my job. Cost me respect. So I went from being the funny uncle that would have a drinks and act the clown at family gatherings, and then I stopped being the funny uncle. I started being the drunk uncle, the uncle that stopped getting invited to weddings.
The embarrassing uncle.
Embarrassing uncle, yeah. It's a terrible thing.
So is your... it's getting worse over the years. Yes,
it was.
You're drinking more and more,
more, and my behaviour was getting worse. I just thought that the world needed to change, not me.
Can we be personal and ask how much were you drinking a day, and what was a typical day like for you when you were drinking like this?
Well, in the last few years, it involved sneaking drinks in the morning.
First thing of the morning?
Well, actually, I would be driving to work and drinking. I'd have anything up to 6 cans. In the morning, 6 cans of beer.
That's just in the morning.
That's just in the morning. I'd be rocking up to people's houses, doing my job. Eventually that started to take a toll because I was drinking too much. Then whilst I was waiting for things to cure or dry, I would jump in the car and in the work truck and go grab a couple more beers, have a few more beers, have a cigarette, chewing gum. I thought that would mask everything.
So it was largely beer, it wasn't spirits?
Yeah, spirits, but spirits would be, at home.
Okay. So in the course of a day, you're looking at about, was it 8 or 9 beers?
That would, yes, and then another probably 3 long necks driving home.
Sounds like an expensive addiction.
Yeah, it was very expensive. Yes, it was. But the bigger price was the respect and the harm and hurt that I caused my loved ones.
We're talking to Armando, our friend from Dooralong's with us this morning. He was telling us just before the break of, a really up and down childhood where there were good moments but also really painful moments of abuse and problems at home with mum and a mental condition that she had. He started drinking and it's just got way out of control, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We were just talking off air whilst that music was playing and talking about how drink starts off as your friend, doesn't it? It just helps you get through the day.
Well, it's the devil in disguise, really.
Yeah. It's not your friend at all.
No, it wasn't. It really was the wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah. Okay, so you've reached that point where you're having a lot of drinks every day. It's interfering with your job. It's presumably interfering with your relationship. And I know you've got a partner and a young child.
Yes. Yes.
What sort of effect was it having on them?
I was continually letting everyone down. I just wasn't able to function. A simple thing, like I already was unable to work because of my condition. Just the simple thing of maintaining the house, getting the kids bathed and fed.
Yeah.
My partner would come home and she'd come home to a house that's a mess. I was drunk. Kids are running around.
That'd be hard for her, wouldn't it?
Well, it was extremely hard. I mean, she comes home from a hard day's work. I had it relatively easy. Running the house ain't. That's all I have to do.
But you're missing out as well because presumably you went down at the beach or playing footy in the park with your kids.
Well, no, because I was too drunk.
Enjoying being a dad.
Yeah, exactly.
You missed it.
I thought I was having fun, but even my son and stepson were realising that I was too drunk to really partake in any activities.
So some of those special dad-son moments, you've missed them.
Yeah, I washed them away.
Yeah.
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 Sad.
Okay, so we know you found your way to Dooralong, and we're really thanking God that you did, but there must have been a point in time where you reached out and said, look, I need help. And usually from talking to guys from Dooralong, there's usually a trigger.
Well, yes, the moment that I realised that I'd gone too far and there was nowhere else to go. But
gone too far?
Well, gone too far with the drinking and my behaviour. I shamefully, in my last blackout, in last big drinking session, I physically abused my partner.
Wow.
Which that's something that I've never ever done in my life.
Yeah.
I'm not a violent person. The alcohol just changed me.
But it was in a blacked out state.
It was in a blackout. I still do not recall any of it, and I was utterly gutted and disgusted with myself.
A lot of guilt there then.
So tons of guilt.
Yeah. What about? How old is your son?
My son is 8 years old now.
Yeah, so he's only a little one, isn't he? Really?
Yeah.
So would he see you being drunk?
So, yes, he would. Yeah.
Yeah. Would he have witnessed you hitting mum?
I believe he did. Yes. Yeah.
What do you think? His reaction, or how do you think he coped with it all?
Well, he coped in the only manner he could. He reached out to his sisters, which they live in Sydney, and in my absence, I left the house, and I was then promptly, arrested by the police.
Wow.
I was charged. And in that time, my son wanted to be with his sisters, and.
Do you think he was frightened of you?
Yes, he was. He was frightened, and
because he'd seen you sort of lash out at mum.
Oh, absolutely.
He must have wondered whether he was next in line.
Well, yes, exactly.
Because he would possibly try to protect mum. And
yeah. Well, exactly that. He probably was thinking that he was next.
Yeah. So, yeah. And when you realised, when you were told what had happened, then that you thought, this has got to stop.
It's got to stop, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, my first thoughts were of suicide. I thought I didn't deserve to live. But then, thankfully, I had the second thought of how dare I do that to everyone that loves me?
Yeah.
It's a coward's way out. And
your partner's, she must love you a lot. She's stood by, hasn't she?
Oh, she has. And I don't believe I could ever make it up. But one thing I can do is show her how good how much of a man I can be, a righteous man.
Yeah. And
do the right thing.
So this is it now. This is a trigger. You're trying to turn your life around.
Absolutely.
So how long ago are we talking about this incident with your wife and Frank?
This
your son?
happened towards the end of February.
Oh, so it's this year, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. So how did you find out about Dooralong then?
Well, I did go to a detox centre, and they gave me pamphlets of various places, and then I managed to. Well, my wife, my partner Deb, she mentioned that she knows someone that went to Dooralong, and was a success story, and she then ended up went on to be a mentor at Dooralong, and then she was a volunteer there for quite some time, and through her recommendation, I chose Dooralong.
So you just rang them up, did you?
I rang them up, yes. It was a 4-month waiting list, and I rang every week, expressing how keen I am and how legitimate my actions were.
How hard was that 4 weeks to stay clean?
4 months.
4 months, sorry. How long was it? How hard was it to stay clean?
Well, I actually wasn't. I was still drinking.
Still drinking.
I was drinking a lot less, but I was just drinking just to stop the side effects, the shakes. I didn't want to have another seizure. I've had alcoholic seizures in the past. I've fallen and broken eye sockets and concussion. It's
scary stuff, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So you give Dooralong a ring. They tell you, we've got a place, but it's 4 months waiting.
4 months away, yes.
And then the big day itself arrives. You go to Dooralong.
Well, yeah. Well, first there was a phone interview, and it was an anxious moment. Then the first day came. I got picked up from Wyong Hospital. That's where I was detoxing. And drove into the gates of Dooralong. First I thought, wow, it's such a beautiful surroundings, but it was very, very daunting.
Yeah. And so you've been there now, like you say, 5 months?
Nearly 5 months. Almost 5 months, yeah.
Things are going well for you?
Much better.
We're talking to Armando. Armando's still in the studio. We heard about him reaching out, realising that he just had to change his life around. He's reached out to Dooralong. He was put on the waiting list, but the great day arrived. He's at Dooralong. He's been there now 5 months. He says things are going really well. And another thing that's going really well for you, Armando, is your relationship with God.
Yes, it is. I'm finally reunited.
Yeah.
With God. I did shy away. At one stage I was sort of blaming God for allowing bad things to happen, but it's no one's fault, especially it's God. It's none of his doing.
So you had this idea of God as a sort of judging you rather than trying to help you.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I just feel like every day was a test, and I was wondering why I was being tested so often.
So you go to the chapel services on Wednesdays?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you immediately embrace that idea and think, oh, this is great? Or was there a period of thinking, oh, I'll just go to the chapel and tick a box?
Exactly, yeah. That's how it was for, it took about probably 8 weeks for me to actually, not succumb, but realise that this is healing.
Yeah.
I had to, my life was out of control. I could not manage my life.
You needed some outside help.
I needed some outside help. I needed help from the big guy.
Yeah.
And I
So you
handed my life over.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. So you were attending chapel sort of regularly for
on
a number of weeks on Wednesdays.
Yes, and then Sundays we go to our churches.
Yeah.
I'm a part of the Bonnells Bay block, and I love it.
So what would you say to somebody who's out there, and lots of people do say, oh, this Christianity lark, it's only for weak people who need some sort of mythical sort of figure to sort of get through life, but, I don't need that, I can run my own life.
Yeah, well, let's give it a go, because if you're struggling and you can't explain why you're struggling, ask for help. Reach out to God.
What's the biggest difference it's made in your life, would you say?
Well, I don't need to worry about what's going to happen. I somehow I've got a guiding hand now.
Yeah.
It's and then, as you said, it isn't for the weak. It's for the strong.
Yeah.
It takes strength to have faith.
So you know that whatever life might throw at you, and it does throw things at us, but whatever life throws at you, you're no longer on your own.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I will never be alone ever again.
Yeah. So when those testing times come, you can just look over your shoulder and talk to Christ.
Well, yeah. Well, as before, when another life test would come along, my first reaction would be to drink.
Yeah.
And do excessive head miles and worry instead of positive action.
Now your reaction would be to get down on, metaphorically get down on your knees, or go to church and talk to some good Christian souls.
Pray, ask for the strength that I need for the day. Pray. And it doesn't take it takes nothing out of your life. You only gain.
Have people around you noticed a difference in you?
Yes.
Apart from not drinking anymore, have they noticed a difference in you? From Christ coming into your life?
They just I walk around with a smile now. It's a lot easier. To smile than to carry the burdens or your burdens. You don't need to carry them. God will lift them. You ask Him to, He will.
People must be wondering what you're on.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's I'm happier than I've ever been.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
You can really say that.
Yeah, I can say that.
Yeah. And how are things between your wife? Because we did talk, your partner, we talked earlier about how much she must have loved you to stuck through you, what you put her through. How are things with her and with your son?
Well, it's still mending to be done.
Bridges to be built.
Bridges to be built, and we get over one hurdle at a time. As I said, I've only just been reunited, well, not actually physically reunited, but finally my son, it's been about 2 weeks now that he's willing to speak to me. I've apologised profusely to him for my actions. He says he forgives me, he loves me.
Yeah. And
he's so happy that I've stopped drinking, that I'm living well.
Yeah.
I've spoken to him about when we're reunited that we will be attending chapel, and I've told him that it's not like Catholic Church.
Not like he thinks it's going to be.
There's a band.
There's loud music and drums.
Loud music, and they encourage kids to partake. It's something that he's actually looking forward to. He thinks it's a great thing.
And we talked right at the very outset this morning about how your father was an alcoholic and his father was an alcoholic, and it would be important for you to sort of set a good example to you.
Well, exactly. He's only seen he hasn't seen the full good side of me, which is only blossoming now. He's witnessed me drinking for as long as he can remember, and I have to break that chain.
It's like he's got to get to know he has to get to know a new person, really.
Absolutely,
almost, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be concerned how I'm going to react.
No.
Because there won't be any more drink in my hand.
He can feel safe.
Exactly. That's what every child needs to feel.
Yeah.
Safe, secure.
So what does the future hold for you, Ananda? Well, obviously you can't answer that. God could answer it if He sort of sits where you are. But what are your hopes for the future?
Well, my hopes to stay clean.
Yeah.
Well, as far as work, I'm probably going to need to retrain because of my physical ailments. I can't go back to my.
You used to be trades. A cook and a stonemason.
A cook and a stonemason, yes.
Yeah.
But a few too many injuries have occurred.
Have you got any ideas what you might like to do?
I'm still No, not yet. It's
one
still,
problem at a time.
It is. That's exactly. One thing that they do. Push forward at Dooralong is not to look too far ahead.
No.
Otherwise, you will trip over what's in front of you.
Because you've only probably about halfway through the program.
Yes, it is. So you're pretty much halfway now.
Don't try and run before you can walk.
Exactly. So I'm walking fine.
Good.
Good. Walking without a limp, I'll call it. But the next step will be to run.
Yeah.
But first of all, I'm still finding out my strengths.
Yeah. And you're working in the kitchens?
Yes, I am. Yes, I work in the kitchen at Dooralong. I do the dinner shift.
The evening meal?
Evening meal.
It's a big meal tonight. Is it a proper roast meal?
Wednesday, yes it is. Yeah, it's roast beef. And
and chapel?
Chapel, yes. And we all look forward to Wednesdays. It's it's a baked dinner and ice cream. It's our little treat.
Yeah. Salvo's do amazing work down there.
It's I don't have the right word for it. It's amazing,
life changing.
It is absolutely life changing and transforming.
Yeah. And if there's somebody out there who's thinking to themselves, I drink a bit, my wife or partner thinks I need help, but I've got it under control, it's my friend, what are you going to say to them?
Change your life. Pick up that phone. Pick up that phone. It's nowhere near as scary as what you would think. There are people out there that care and give unconditional love, and support is impeccable.
Nobody's going to shout at you.
Nobody will judge you. They will just be glad that you're there. They embrace broken people.
So there's no embarrassment factor.
There's no embarrassment factor. There's always someone that's done something worse. That's been drinking longer, been using longer. You'll be surprised.
They're very good ambassadors for Christ, aren't they?
Absolutely.
That's exactly how he acted.
William Booth, the founder.
But when Jesus was alive, he didn't. He went out of his way to talk to prostitutes and to talk to the outcasts and the marginalised, the tax collectors. He literally sort of went out of his way and had meals with them and just sat down and talked.
Exactly.
No judgment, no sort of wagging finger.
No, well, that's what Jesus and the Almighty God is all about. No judgment.
It's been great to talk to you, Amanda. We must let you go because you're going to have to prepare that meal for. How many are you preparing? How many are you cooking for tonight?
On Wednesdays it's about 210.
Oh, it's a lot of work.
A lot of visitors.
All right. Better let you get back to those kitchens.
All right, well, thank you so much. I've enjoyed my time.
We thank you, Amanda, and as always, we just pray God's blessing into your life and into the life of your partner and your young son as well.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Okay, our pleasure. You've been listening to an encore presentation of the Dooralong stories, which can be heard live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. and repeated at 8 p.m. Sunday and 1 a.m. Wednesday, right here on 94.9 rema.cc.